Over the last few years, Lincoln has really been hard at work trying to shed their stodgy, old person image with an onslaught of new products. The new Navigator and of course the Aviator quickly comes to mind. However, if you're a younger buyer, and that's what every manufacturer is after these days, you may not be ready for something quite as large and quite as expensive, of course, as the Navigator and Aviator, which is where this new vehicle behind me comes into play. This is the all-new Lincoln Corsair, the company's newest entry in the compact luxury SUV space. It replaces the Lincoln MKC in the lineup, and it is now the least expensive and smallest vehicle that Lincoln currently makes. And as you can see from the design, it takes a lot of styling cues, of course, from the Navigator and the Aviator. So if you guys are in the market for a new compact luxury vehicle and you wanted the Aviator, has Lincoln managed to bottle that essence into a smaller package with the new Corsair? Stay tuned to find out. So just like the MKC that it replaces, the all-new Corsair, of course, is based off of the Ford Escape platform, the current generation Ford Escape. And as you can see in terms of the design, this is one handsomely American-styled compact luxury SUV that literally looks like a shrunken down version of the Aviator. So if you guys like the styling of the Aviator and Navigator and you want it in a smaller package, you're going to really like this car as well. But let's approach the front end of the new Corsair, because as you can see, this is the new corporate language, the new face of Lincoln with of course their signature grille. This one here has a sport package which kind of blacks out the inner portion of the grille with the chrome highlights. You also get a unique front bumper where the lower lip is painted a nice piano black, and you have more painted accents that kind of make this car look a little bit more elegant. In fact, the entire design language to me just looks very stately and very elegant. These headlights are also the dual full LED headlights. They're also adaptive in swiveling. You have LED daytime running lights, LED turn signals, and then the reserve package that my tester has for around $7,000 also includes those LED fog lights. But overall, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the styling of this vehicle. I actually really like it. What I don't particularly like is this color of this particular car. This one here is painted in an iced mocha exterior color for $600. It's a very shiny beige color, which kind of makes this car look like a little bit more like an old person car. I'd probably go for one of the handsome bright red or dark blue hues that Lincoln also offers on this vehicle. Now, in terms of the platform, like I mentioned, this is based off of the Ford Escape, and it's a really good sized vehicle. Unlike the, Aviator and Navigator, which are just very, very large, this one here stretches at around 180.6 inches long. It's actually a little bit shorter than most of its competitors from Europe. It's around the same size as a Lexus NX, even around 5 inches shorter than something like an Acura RDX. Its wheelbase, around 106 inches long, is also on the shorter end. It's around half an inch longer versus the previous generation MKC. Now, my tester here, having that sport package, also includes these very nicely finished 20-inch wheels running on 245 width tires. You can also take your pick between a smaller 18 or a 19-inch wheel if you guys don't want the 20s. My tester also has the adaptive dampers. The suspension is unique to the Corsair. You can't get adaptive dampers on something like the Ford Escape. Now, above the vehicle, you can see there's these really nice integrated silver roof rails with a nice panoramic sunroof. Again, you kind of expect features like that. It's standard on the reserve trim that my tester is. You also have this nice little blacked out D-pillar here that makes the roof appear like it's floating. And then looking at the rear of the vehicle, I actually think the Corsair looks better from the front. What I don't like about the rear, the taillights are fine, but I don't like is this area here where you can see there's a very large gap that separates the tailgate housing, of course, from the rest of the body. The gap is just too large for me. I wish that Lincoln had made that a little bit tighter. You do get, of course, full LED taillights. With that full length width, you have Lincoln that's spelled out at the back, and then down here you have these nice dual chrome exhaust tips. Now, my tester, having the optional engine, it's a 2.3 liter turbo, should have a 2.3 badge here, but for some reason this particular one is missing that. But this is still a crossover, of course. So you're probably wondering, how's the cargo capacity like? Well, if you open up the power rear hatch, which also has a hands-free function, you get around 27 cubic feet of space. Remember, there's no third row available on this vehicle. It's considerably smaller than an Aviator by around 20 inches. If you fold down that second row seat, you get around 55 cubic feet of space. So on the smaller end of the segment, competitors like the X3 are going to offer more space, but this is still pretty useful. Underneath this floor here, you can see Lincoln does give you a temporary spare tire. And if you want to fold the seats, they do have electronic releases here at the back. So now let's talk about the interior of the all-new 2021 Lincoln Corsair. Now, just like the exterior, which resembles a baby Aviator, the interior basically takes the same design language that we saw on the Aviator and the Navigator, but it kind of just shrinks it down into a more manageable and more cozy environment. As you can see, looking at this interior, my tester here has a color combination that is not necessarily my preference. It's just the black interior. The wood grain that you see is genuine. There's a lot of piano black trim. There's a lot of chrome and aluminum trim. The seats, my tester has an optional 24-way perfect position seats with power adjustments, 24 ways. They're heated and cooled. 3-person memory, of course, on the driver's side, and these are also massaging seats. So these are pretty, impressive seat, especially in the compact luxury segment, and the leather itself feels like it's upgraded. I just have a hard time getting comfortable in these seats. There's too many ways to adjust them, and you control them, of course, from the door panel. It's very Mercedes-like. So try the seats out. Let me know if you guys like the seats. When I shut the door over here, you can see it has a nice solid sounding thunk, so that really gives it an impression of quality that you expect from a luxury branded vehicle. Now getting inside, I want to first show you guys the key fob for the vehicle. This is the same Ford key that you find in a lot of other Ford products. You can use your phone as a key. My tester has a technology package where if you have the Lincoln app, you can kind of connect to your phone and use it as a key, which is very similar to what they offer, of course, in the Ford Mach-E and, of course, a lot of Tesla products. There is remote start on the fob. This fob in general is just a little bit too big for my liking. Lincoln puts the button here to fire up the engine up on the dash, which is a good location for it. And then you can hear when it starts up, there's a new, of course, unique Lincoln chime, which does make the vehicle sound a little bit more premium, of course. And this screen here is the Ford Sync 3 system. It's not the newest Ford Sync 4 system that you find, of course, in some of the newest Ford models. But this screen at 8 inches, I'm actually a little bit disappointed with the screen size. I think that the screen size should have at least been the same 10-inch display that you get in the Aviator, or at least a 9-inch display. It just looks a little bit too small. My biggest issue is actually so much to do with the black border. There's a very large black bezel here around the screen that makes it look a little bit dated. I think Lincoln could have done better. I suspect they're going to refresh this car and address this and give us maybe perhaps a widescreen that would make it look a lot better. All of them come standard with this 12-inch display as well for the instrument panel. It's somewhat customizable, but I kind of wish that Lincoln would offer, different colors that you could change this to. You can offer different fonts. This looks a little bit too much like fancy Ford to me. I'm just not the biggest fan of the instrument panel, which is the same thing that I noticed, of course, with the Aviator and the Navigator. The steering wheel, you can see it is unique on the Corsair. You have these really nice touch-sensitive or lit up buttons over here, where if I turn on the adaptive cruise, you can see the buttons come on here on the steering wheel. And you can also control the screen from here. You can control your volume controls over here. The wheel itself is also power tilt and telescoping. You get that on the reserve package, kind of a rare option, of course, in this segment. And in terms of the materials here, you can see this is a huge upgrade versus the Escape, which I criticize for having a very cheap feeling interior. The Lincoln does so much better with the soft touch injection molded plastic. It has a nice graining to it. You have genuine leather stitching here on the dash, real wood grain, a lot of piano black and chrome accents. I also like the way the dash vents look, more piano black here. Which all looks great. And then you can see here, soft padded area here on the door pads, which is nice. The seat controls here also have a nice high quality feel to them. Chrome accent trim for the door handles, padded leather over here. The window controls also feel pretty high quality. They're essentially the Ford switches with just some more chrome on it. The windows are also one touch for all four. You have power folding mirrors, 3-person memory seats, like I said, and then the Revel sound system offers 14 speakers. It sounds really good. It's pretty much on par with a lot of the upgraded systems that you find from BMW, from Mercedes, and of course, from Audi. Now, down here you can see the transmission is controlled via this piano key shifter, which is unique to a lot of Lincoln products. You can see when I put the vehicle to reverse, there is a full 360 camera with a top-down view. Again, the screen could be larger and the graphics could be a little bit better. I remember the Aviator and Navigator had a slightly better looking resolution to the backup camera. You can see there's your Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It is not wireless. I have my phone connected right now. You can see it is a very snappy and responsive screen. If you just push that button there, it takes you back to the Lincoln screen. And then that'll of course take you back to the CarPlay. The system itself is pretty easy to use, and I do find that it still kind of lags from time to time. It could be faster. You can kind of change the colors in here. Lincoln also gives you the option to change the ambient lighting in here, which is not something that you have that's quite elaborate if you guys are looking at some Ford products. So overall, the infotainment system is fine. It's easy to use. It's within an easy reach as well. I just think the screen needs to be upgraded considerably. Down here you can see you have controls, volume, tuning knob, a menu button here for your climate control. The piano black looks good, but because you can see it reflects sunlight back into your face, and it also shows fingerprints like crazy. Down here, as you can see, there's a very good amount of storage. You'd also find your wireless phone charger over there, 2 cup holders. Your drive mode selector is over here where you can adjust it between a normal, a slippery, a deep conditions, and there's also a conserve, which is like an eco mode, and then an excite mode, which we'll try the driving modes later on in the test drive. You have electronic parking brake here, a little bit of coin storage, I'm guessing over there, or maybe you could put the key over there, and then open this up, you can see a pretty deep center console area, and it's also lit up. And you'll also find your 2 USB charging ports and a 12 volt in there, which also, again, is what you expect in today's modern cars. The glove compartment you can see is a little bit on the small side. It's damped and it's lined with felt. And then above me, you can see my tester has a very large panoramic sunroof that you get as part of the reserve package with a nice power retractable shade. This lets in a lot of light into an otherwise dark cabin. So overall, if you guys like the interior of a lot of the modern Lincolns, this definitely has a much more upscale feel that won't really remind you of Ford unless you really start prodding or poking hard into this interior. But it does have a high quality feel. It does have a great sound system. It does have a really nice heads-up display, and you generally feel like it's an open and airy cabin. So I'm pretty impressed with how this vehicle works. Oh, the one thing I do want to show you guys really quick, the massage function. You push that button, go to massage here. You can see they offer, looks like 5 different levels of massage. Not quite as much as what you get from some of the bigger Lincolns, but this is a rare feature, especially in this segment. Now, because Lincoln was able to stretch the wheelbase a little bit more for this next generation Corsair, they did give us about 1.5 inches more legroom in the second row, which is where, honestly, a lot of buyers in this segment make their deciding factor, because when you get back here, the new Corsair actually offers a pretty generous amount of space. Lincoln says you get around 38.6 inches of legroom. That's a little bit more than what you're gonna get from its competitors, and if you guys have tall friends, this is a pretty comfortable place to sit. As you can see, getting in, I'm 5'7". I have plenty of room in this vehicle. There's a pretty low floor. The floor is not completely flat for that middle passenger, but you can see there's a lot of foot space underneath the front seats. When I shut the door, the doors, again, have pretty much the same materials. You have soft touch materials here on the upper panels, more aluminum trim or more chrome trim, and lots of leather padding. You do have 2 map pockets here. You have 2 level heated back seats, which is nice. You have rear seat air vents and 2 USB-C or USB charging ports. The seats themselves, they do recline, they fold down, which is nice. And then you also have this armrest that folds down that gives you 2 cup holders. So overall, I also really like how the pano sunroof comes all the way to the back here. It comes really far back, so it does give rear seat passengers, of course, a really nice view. So if you're looking for one of the larger back seats in the compact SUV segment, luxury space, the Corsair is definitely one of those vehicles you need to look at. Now, taking a peek under the hood of the new Lincoln Corsair, Lincoln is actually going to offer a choice of 3 different powertrains. The new addition, of course, for 2021 is a plug-in hybrid version dubbed the Grand Touring. I'll be testing that at a later date. This is the upgraded engine that is unavailable on the Escape. It's a 2.3-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. And when you guys spec this engine, it does offer some pretty impressive stats: 295 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. That's a 40 horsepower increase, of course, over the base 2-liter turbo engine, which offers 250 horsepower and around 280 pound-feet of torque. It comes with 1 transmission choice. It's an 8-speed automatic transmission. That is a Ford-designed transmission, and you can take your pick between either front-wheel drive on the 2-liter, while this 2.3-liter turbo engine comes standard with the company's intelligent all-wheel drive system. Now, the engine itself isn't very pretty to look at, but this is essentially the same motor that you find, of course, in the EcoBoost Ford Mustang. It's just been detuned. It doesn't produce quite as much power. And if you guys plan to tow anything with this vehicle, it will tow a maximum of around 2,000 pounds if you guys spec up the towing package. Now, fuel economy is also decent for what it is. It's rated at 21 in the city, 28 on the highway. That's just a 1 mpg reduction versus the 2-liter, so they get basically the same gas mileage. And as this one sits, it weighs in at around 3,900 pounds. The Corsair in general, surprisingly, is around 100 pounds lighter versus the previous generation MKC. So you should have pretty decent 0 to 60 performance and decent fuel economy, and it offers that optional upgrade engine that you cannot get in the more plebeian Ford Escape. So as Lincoln's most affordable and smallest model in the North American lineup, the Corsair obviously has some pretty big shoes to fill. This is the car that's going to attract the youngest buyer, a new buyer to Lincoln. And it's no wonder that the Corsair is the company's best seller. Remember, this replaces the old MKC. It is built off of the current generation Ford Escape, which also kind of underpins the new Ford Bronco Sport, which I hadn't had a chance to drive yet. But when I drove the Ford Escape last year, I came away pretty disappointed because Ford sent me over the hybrid version first, which I wasn't really the biggest fan of. So now we've got the Corsair Reserve package with the 2.3 liter EcoBoost engine. This engine is not available in the Ford Escape. It's an optional engine for like $4,700 that's rolled in with the Sport package that my tester has. And right now I have the driving mode in normal. I'm just gonna put my foot down. It is definitely quick. It's paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. This is a Ford design transmission, and it has pretty good oomph. This powertrain offers another 40 horsepower versus the 2-liter engine. And let's just try it here from a stop. I'm just gonna put my foot down here. A little bit of a chirp there for surprisingly. Remember, this powertrain comes standard with all-wheel drive, and it does have really good power. 0 to 60 time feels like around 6 seconds. It is probably around a second quicker versus the 2-liter EcoBoost engine, the base engine. So, you know, if you guys want more power, obviously the 2.3 is there. Pretty responsive 8-speed automatic. It's got a pretty decent noise, although the noise sounds synthesized. Overall, this is pretty much on par with a lot of its competitors. The Acura RDX comes to mind with a 2-liter turbo. This is way quicker, of course, than a Lexus NX 300, the turbocharged engine. And it's pretty similar with the GLC 300, the BMW X3 30i, and an Audi Q5, although the transmission in the Audi, the dual clutch, probably shifts faster than this. But I think a lot of people who are looking at this car are going to be pleased with the 2.3. I'm just not entirely sure it's worth the $4,700 charge. It's just a very expensive engine, and for only 40 more horsepower, I would expect this to be like a, you know, the 3-liter twin-turbo V6 that you find in the Aviator for $5,000 more. They should really consider doing a performance version of this car with that motor. I think the Corsair would be a very enticing addition if it had that. Now this has Lincoln's intelligent all-wheel drive system, which can basically send up to 70% of the power, I believe, rearward. And it makes for a really nice drive. Now the Corsair, just like the Aviator and all the other Lincoln products, is designed mostly for comfort. So we're gonna switch over here to the normal setting. And this is where the adaptive dampers that my tester has for $700 really makes the ride quality of this vehicle really serene. I mean, even though I've got 20-inch wheels running on 245 wood tires, the Corsair just kind of glides over, you know, road imperfections, and on smooth pavement, it rides like a luxury SUV. So I'm really happy with the ride. I'm still not in love with the seats. Just like in the Aviator, with 24 different ways to adjust, I find that I'm having trouble getting comfortable in the seats. There's just so many ways you can adjust the seat where I just can't seem to find a good position. So, you know, my recommendation, maybe save yourself $1,100 and just get the standard seats with the 10-way power adjustment. Really, the only reason why you'd want to get the 24-way seats is because it comes with that massage feature, which the massage feature is nice. It's a rarity in this segment. I have it, you know, giving me a full recovery, full body massage right now, and it does a really good job. And it kind of helps take away the sting from the fact that I can't really get comfortable with these seats. But I really like the power of this engine. It's a good engine. It's responsive. The transmission is good. It gives the Corsair the power it needs to be, you know, taken seriously in the luxury space. So way better versus what you find in something like the Cadillac XT5. or XT4 even, the Corsair is definitely a nice American entry, especially if you guys are looking for something like this. Now in terms of visibility, visibility out of this vehicle is pretty good. The A-pillar here is a little bit on the thick side, but I do have big side mirrors, good view out of the front and the back. Ford's Copilot 360 is standard, but if you want the Copilot 360 Plus, which includes the adaptive cruise control and the traffic jam assistance, you're gonna have to pay extra for that. Sadly, it does not come standard. Even on the reserve trim, you still have to pay extra for something like that. But let's just try it one more time again. We'll try accelerating hard from a stop here. We'll put it into Excite mode, which is sport. It turns off the start-stop. And very little drama. When I didn't brake torque it there was no wheel spin, which is what you kind of want in a vehicle like this. And you know, if you guys plan to tow heavy loads, you plan to carry this car with 5 people, the 2.3 could be worth it, but I suspect for the majority of buyers, the $4,700 upcharge to go with the 2.3 is a little bit steep, considering this doesn't have, you know, the true performance that I expect from, like, you know, you can get from its German competitors, where they offer 6-cylinder engines. But really, the Corsair is a really nice luxury SUV. I find very little in terms of annoyances with this car. It's decent looking on the outside, it's nice on the inside, aside from the teeny tiny screen. It literally looks like Lincoln took the Aviator, put it in the dryer for too long and shrunk it and gave us the Corsair, which is not a bad thing. So it's a really nice surprise for me. I like this SUV more than I thought I would, because I didn't really like the Escape, but it kind of shows you that this platform is a good platform with the right powertrain. The hybrid version I wouldn't drive, although the Lincoln does offer a plug-in hybrid, the Grand Touring, which isn't quite out yet. The Grand Touring version offers 25 miles of electric-only range. I would be curious to drive that, although it has less power than this, roughly 30 less horsepower. But yeah, in terms of a luxury compact SUV, this does pretty well. And in terms of fuel economy, in my week's worth of testing, I averaged right around 23 mpg. Premium is recommended for the best performance. Again, go with the hybrid version if you guys want better gas mileage. But this is a really solid platform and offers a lot of tech on the inside. Pretty good room, quiet interior as well. Very little engine noise, very little road and wind noise. So just like the Aviator, which really impresses you, the Corsair is going to do that, but it's going to do that in a smaller package. And as long as you keep the options in check, it's going to be a much more affordable car versus the Aviator. So although Lincoln's reputation among younger buyers is still kind of a work in progress, it's pretty easy to see why, after spending a week with the 2021 Corsair, this vehicle here is the company's best seller. Lincoln consistently does just under 30,000 units. They even did that when they sold this vehicle as the MKC. And this is now, like I said before, the least expensive and smallest way that you can get into a Lincoln. I wouldn't be surprised, of course, to see this vehicle here kind of spin off an even smaller version, because as you guys know, these really small crossovers, luxury crossovers, continue to sell extremely well. Just like the Ford Escape, this is a really nice platform. However, Lincoln has fortified it, of course, with a unique engine that really gives this the performance that I expect from a luxury crossover. It has a really nice ride quality. It's really comfortable on the inside. The seats, I'd probably recommend skipping the 24-way perfect position seats, because I think that they just have too many adjustments. And really, there's plenty of room on the inside to stretch about. And if you guys like the design, of course, of the Aviator and Navigator, but you want it in a smaller package, I personally would get a different color on this car. I don't really like this iced mocha color, but it does have a uniquely American style to it, and it's way better versus its main competitor from, you know, General Motors, the Cadillac XT4 and XT5. Now, speaking of which, if you guys are looking to purchase the all-new 2021 Corsair, this vehicle here starts at just under $37,000 before the destination charge, which does, again, make it a pretty good deal among luxury SUVs. However, most of you are probably going to spec in the reserve package for $7,000. That's going to, of course, upgrade you to a panoramic sunroof. You'll get upgraded leather on the inside. You'll get that 14-speaker Revel sound system, which sounds pretty good. And of course, you can option in several other option packages. My tester here has roughly $12,000 in options on it, from like the technology package to the, sport package on it to the optional engine. This one here stickers for a rather expensive $57,000 and some change. 57 grand makes this easily around $10,000 more expensive than the last Acura RDX A-Spec that I tested, which for me kind of remains my benchmark in terms of, price per dollar. There's a lot of value thrown in with the Acura. The Lincoln, of course, has slightly more power, a more unique look. You can get features like a massaging seats. You can get a heads-up display in the vehicle, which is included with that technology package. So clearly, there's a lot to like about this vehicle, but just be prepared to pay a pretty penny for one, especially if you want it with all the options. But also keep in mind, Lincoln dealers tend to offer a lot of incentives on these vehicles. So you may be able to take a significant discount off of the price of this car, which also could in turn hurt the resale value a little bit. So again, if you guys are looking for a luxury SUV, the new Corsair is definitely one of my favorites, and it's a surprising favorite because I really like the entire package that Lincoln is offering with this vehicle. Just be prepared to kind of go easy on the options. If you guys go easy on the options, you can get this car for right around the low $50,000 range. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2021 Lincoln Corsair. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook. And as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.